Hi, it's Mocha Bear. Today we're going to be talking about Princess Yue from Avatar the Last Airbender and her real-world inspiration. So, we all know Princess Yue, right? Her name literally means moon in Japanese. She's gorgeous, kind, and brave. She also gives us our first real depiction of sacrifice within the show, and in turn grief, as Sokka copes with the fact that his first girlfriend just turned into the moon.
That's rough, buddy.
But what if I told you she was inspired by a real Chinese legend?
Is this real or a legend?
Oh, it's a real legend.
So this legend, the Legend of Chang'e, was first recorded in the Guisheng, which was a divination text written back in the Zhou dynasty. The Zhou dynasty ruled China from 1046 to 256 BCE, which is actually the longest spanning rule of any one single dynasty in China. They are basically known for the emergence and popularization of the philosophies Buddhism and Confucianism. Now, there's no exact date for when the Guisheng was first written, but it's often grouped with other more famous Chinese texts called the I Ching. Anyway, the point is, there is this text called the Guisheng. It had over 60 hexagrams and each was accompanied by a legend, one of those being the Legend of Chang'e. From the few fragments that survived the ages and then got translated into English, we get this. Yi shoots the 10 suns and Chang'e ascending to the moon. Now, I'll mention here, Chang'e wasn't initially called Chang'e, she was known as Heng'e, but that was the same name as the Han Emperor Liu Heng, and that's a huge no-no to have the same name. So they changed it to Chang'e to avoid the overlap. Okay, so there's lots of different interpretations of the myth of Chang'e, but as it is most commonly understood now, the story goes that she had a husband called Hu Yi, who was a really good archer, and he shot 9 suns out of the sky until there was only 1 remaining. He had 2 portions of this elixir of immortality, which he gave to his wife Chang'e so they could drink them together later. But one day he's off hunting, and his apprentice shows up demanding the elixir from Chang'e. And instead of giving it to him, Chang'e sensed the greed in the apprentice's heart and didn't want him to get his hands on it, so she drank both of them. As a result, she becomes immortal and has to say goodbye to her mortal life. This is when she flies upwards towards the moon and it becomes her residence. She is also mentioned as a character in Journey to the West, where her jade rabbit causes some havoc and she has to go and collect it. Anyways, you're probably wondering what on earth Chang'e has to do with Yue, but let me just point out a couple of similarities. Yue's father tells us that Yue was sickly as a child and they thought that she was going to die, so they took her to the sacred moon pond, the spirit oasis, and gave her some of the water. She lived, but became intertwined with the fate of the moon spirits. And when one of them is attacked and killed by Admiral Zhao, she ascends to the heavens to take its place and stop Admiral Zhao from becoming too powerful. So, the parallels I'm drawing here is the moon pond and the elixir of immortality. In both stories, the women start off as normal humans and as mortals, but consume the spiritual sort of water, I suppose, and have to deal with the consequences of no longer being mortal and having to say goodbye to the world as they know it. I also think Sokka could be some vague reference to Hu Yi. After all, Sokka's whole thing is that he feels this immense amount of guilt that he wasn't able to protect Yue. And in the myth, Hu Yi also felt this guilt and responsibility. It honestly gets a little gruesome, but you can read the details of that yourself. Anyway, the whole reason that Chang'e drinks the elixir in the first place is to stop the corrupted apprentice from getting his hands on them and using them for evil, greedy purposes, which brings to mind Admiral Zhao and his selfish desire to enter the moon pond and kill the moon spirit itself to become as powerful as he can. So, anyway, Yue actually draws visual cues from depictions of Chang'e, which is the part that I find particularly interesting. I'm working on a video basically dissecting the history and evolution of fashion in the Avatar universe. And it was actually during research for that I came across the similarities between these two and decided I'd have to make a separate video for Yue. So, Yue's hair is absolutely beautiful and it holds a lot of symbolism. She has these Inuit-style braids at the front and these traditional Chinese hairstyle at the back. The sort of loop that her hair forms looks just like popular depictions of Chang'e. Looking at the image too, it's easy to notice more similarities. We've got the flowing sleeves, the multiple pieces of draped fabric, and those extra flowing ribbon sort of pieces that overall aid to this feminine, divine spirit kind of presence. So, it's very clear that the creators of the show at least took some inspiration from the old real legend of the moon goddess Chang'e. It really adds to the world building of the Avatar universe and shows us how the creators reference and were inspired by many different real world cultures. I get into this in a lot more detail in my other upcoming videos, so if you're curious, I definitely suggest you check those out. And if you enjoyed the story of Chang'e, I suggest that you read Su Lin Tan's book, Daughter of the Moon Goddess. It's a beautiful book, it has a sequel as well, and I just love it. I can't recommend it enough. There's also an animated movie called Over the Moon that's based off this legend, as well as countless other media and novels. Chang'e has inspired plenty of modern retellings. As always, my sources for this video will be linked in the description. For now, I hope you enjoyed this fun little tidbit of information. Have a great day!